You say you'll change, but do you? You make promises, but do you keep them? Not to others, to yourself. Because that's where your power lives or dies. Every time you say tomorrow and don't show up, you kill a piece of your potential. Every time you say I'll start and don't finish, you train yourself to distrust your own voice. And here's the truth. If your own word doesn't mean anything to you, it won't mean anything to the world. This isn't about discipline, it's about identity. It's not about goals, it's about who you become when no one's watching. And it all starts with one sacred choice. Keep your word. Keep your word to yourself and others. Self-discipline begins with small promises. You say you're going to do it, you feel it, you mean it, and for a moment, it's real. You tell yourself you'll wake up early tomorrow, you'll start eating right, you'll make that call, finish that project, stop procrastinating. You make a promise to yourself, and then you break it. Quietly, casually, almost like it didn't matter. But it mattered, more than you think. Here's the truth. No one lies to you more than you lie to yourself. And every time you do, you chip away at the foundation of your self-trust. Discipline doesn't begin with massive transformation. It begins with keeping your word, especially when no one else is watching. Because if you can't trust yourself to follow through on a small promise, how will you ever believe in your ability to keep a big one? Let me tell you something hard but honest. Your self-respect is built or broken in those quiet moments. Not in front of the crowd, not during the big speech, not on stage. It's in the lonely hour when you said you'd do the work and then you did, or didn't. That's when your character is forged, or fractured. People think confidence comes from being successful. No, confidence comes from being consistent, and consistency begins with integrity. Not just with others, but with yourself. If your own word doesn't mean anything to you, then how can you build anything on top of it? It's like trying to build a skyscraper on sand. You can try, but it won't hold. So I'm not here to ask if you've made big plans. I'm here to ask if you kept your last small promise. Did you do what you said you'd do yesterday? Did you keep your word not to impress someone else, but to prove to yourself that you're still someone who can be trusted? Because if you didn't, that's where the work begins. That's where the comeback starts. Right there, with the smallest promise. You wouldn't trust a friend who constantly breaks their word, would you? Someone who says, I'll be there and then doesn't show up. Someone who promises, this time I've changed, but never actually does. Eventually you stop listening. You stop believing. Now here's the question. How often are you that friend to yourself? Every broken promise to yourself leaves a mark. You may not see it, but deep inside your subconscious remembers. It keeps a ledger, a record of every commitment you failed to honor. And that ledger becomes the basis of your self-image. You begin to see yourself not as capable, but as unreliable, not as strong, but as someone who tries. That's why it hurts. That's why motivation fades. Because deep down, part of you has stopped believing your own voice. You've broken too many silent contracts. And now, every new goal feels hollow. Not because the dream is wrong, but because the foundation it rests on is cracked. And let me be blunt. If you don't repair that foundation, you will sabotage every attempt at growth. So how do we rebuild it? How do you restore trust in yourself? The answer is not loud declarations or grand plans. The answer is small, clear, non-negotiable promises. And then following through, every single time. No excuses, no delay, just quiet, relentless execution. Start simple. Tell yourself you'll drink a glass of water first thing in the morning. Then do it, every day, no exceptions. Tell yourself you'll stretch for 5 minutes. Then do it. It's not about the action. It's about the message it sends to your brain. My word is law. And once your subconscious starts to believe that, your life starts to change, fast. It's not magic, it's mechanics. Your identity is a story, and stories are built one page at a time, one promise at a time, one victory at a time. Win the next one, and you start writing a different future. Let me tell you something powerful. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you treat your promises to yourself like they don't matter, don't be surprised when the world treats your dreams the same way. Life reflects your inner standards, always, and people feel it, even if they don't know how to name it. You ever notice how some people walk into a room and something about them just feels solid? It's not the way they dress. It's not their words. It's something underneath. You can sense they don't owe themselves anything. They've paid their dues. They've kept their word. That kind of integrity, it radiates. And that kind of power, it starts in silence, when no one's looking. When you keep your word to yourself, your energy shifts. You start speaking less, doing more. You stop chasing approval and start generating respect. Not just from others, from yourself. You feel proud again, grounded, clear. But here's the kicker. The people who keep their word, they're not superhuman. They feel tired too. They feel lazy, scared, overwhelmed. But they've trained themselves to follow through anyway, because they know something most people forget. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret, that lasts a lifetime. Think back to the last time you made a promise and didn't keep it. Remember how it felt, that sinking sensation, that quiet guilt, that little voice that whispered, "You did it again." Now imagine if just once you did the opposite. Imagine promising yourself something and then keeping it. That pride, that spark, that shift, that's the beginning of a new identity. Because that's what this is really about, identity. Not habits, not hacks, not tricks. Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when it's just you, your goals, and your word? That answer will determine everything. And the good news is, you can rewrite it starting today. You want to change your life? Start here. Say less and follow through more. Every time you declare your next big move and then don't move, you weaken your voice. You turn your own words into noise. And the problem with noise is, eventually, no one listens. Not even you. But there's a cure, and it's not complicated. Make a promise, one that matters, one you can keep, and then keep it. That's it. That's the seed. You water that seed with action, with repetition, with consistency, and what grows from it is unstoppable. When I say keep your word, I don't just mean to others. I mean especially to yourself. Because you can fake it with the world. You can put on a show, smile, pretend like everything's fine. But when you're alone, there's no hiding. You know the truth, you feel it. That's why the inner promise is the most sacred. You can break a deal with a stranger and move on. But break a deal with yourself. That wound lingers. That damage is personal. And the only way to heal it is to show up again and again. Until your actions say, "I'm back. I'm reliable. I'm me again." And eventually, your trust comes home. So here's your challenge. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait until life feels easier. Start today. Start now. Pick one promise, a small one, something real, something doable, and then deliver. No one's watching, but that doesn't matter, because the most important person is watching, and that person is counting on you. Discipline doesn't begin with fire, it begins with a whisper. A soft, "I said I would," followed by a firm "and I did." Keep saying that, keep doing that, and you will become someone the world can't ignore, because you'll be someone who no longer ignores themselves. Let's be honest, we've all made promises we didn't keep, and not because we're lazy, not because we're weak, but because we've built a habit of escape. Escape from pressure, escape from discomfort, escape from responsibility. And that habit, it becomes a silent assassin, killing our growth one delay at a time. You see, most people don't break promises because they want to. They break them because they've trained their nervous system to associate action with pain. They don't follow through because somewhere deep down, doing the work feels threatening. Not the work itself, but what the work represents. Change, discomfort, challenge, risk. That's the root of it. Think about it. You say you'll start the diet Monday. Monday comes and suddenly you're tired, you're busy, you're stressed. But the truth is, none of those things are new. What's really happening is your brain is looking for relief. Not because the diet is hard, but because change scares the identity you've been clinging to. And so you default to what's familiar. That's the lie of comfort. It feels safe, but it slowly destroys your power. Every time you avoid action, you teach yourself that escaping is easier than becoming. And over time, your self-image adapts. You go from "I can" to "I'll try" to "I probably won't." And from there, it's a short slide to "I'm not that kind of person." But here's the breakthrough. You are. You are the kind of person who keeps their word. You just forgot. Or maybe you never proved it to yourself long enough for it to become real. That's okay. The mind can be reconditioned. The pattern can be broken. You don't need a perfect plan, you need a decision. One that says, I'm done breaking promises to myself. And then, one step, one promise, one kept word. Your brain is always listening, always learning. Every time you say, I'll do it later, it hears, my word doesn't matter. And when you repeat that story enough times, it becomes your truth. That's not fate, that's conditioning. And the good news, conditioning can be rewritten. See, your mind isn't loyal to your potential. It's loyal to your patterns. It doesn't care what you're capable of, it cares what you repeatedly do. If you quit when things get hard, it memorizes that. If you push through discomfort, it memorizes that too. Every decision is a vote for who you are becoming. And the question is, who are you voting for? You don't need a perfect track record. You need a pattern of honesty, a rhythm of follow-through. That's how trust is built. Not through intensity, but through consistency. It's not about doing everything right, it's about doing the right thing even when it's small. Let me give it to you straight. You'll never rise higher than your own self-respect. You can fake success, wear ambition like a mask, post motivation on social media, but if you don't keep your own promises, none of it means anything. Because deep down, you'll know. And that knowing will haunt every goal you set. But here's what's beautiful. The turnaround begins instantly. Not after a 30-day challenge. Not after you feel ready. The shift happens the moment you keep a promise, no matter how small. You say you'll do 10 push-ups. You do 10 push-ups. Not to get fit, but to prove something. I do what I say I will do. That's not fitness. That's identity work. Keep your word once, and your brain notices. Do it again, and it starts to believe. Do it consistently, and you transform. Not just what you do, but who you are. That's the power of aligned action. That's the force that turns discipline into destiny. Let me ask you something raw and direct. What would your life look like right now if you had kept every promise you made to yourself in the last year? Really think about that. What kind of shape would you be in? What kind of business would you have built? What kind of peace would live in your mind if you had just kept your word? It's a hard question, and it hurts because we already know the answer. We know where we've let ourselves down, and that regret, that's not your enemy. That's a message. That's your inner voice, whispering, we could be so much more. But not by dreaming bigger, not by hoping harder, by finally doing the damn thing we said we'd do. And look, I get it. Life throws punches. Things get messy, unexpected, heavy. But discipline isn't about controlling everything. It's about controlling your response when everything goes wrong. It's about keeping your commitment even when the world doesn't care. Especially then. There will always be chaos, but your word can be the one thing that stays solid, like a lighthouse in the storm. When you learn to anchor yourself in your own integrity, you stop drifting, you stop reacting, and you start leading. Leading your choices, leading your energy, leading your life. People ask me, how do I get more confidence? Here's how. Start doing the things you promised yourself you'd do. Confidence doesn't come from compliments. It comes from proof. When your actions and your words line up, you stop needing motivation. You move from belief to certainty. And certainty is magnetic. People feel it. And more importantly, you feel it. Let's make this real. Right now, what is one thing, just one, that you've been telling yourself you'd do? Not next year, not after the holidays. Something small, something clear, something that matters. Got it? Good. Now here's the challenge. Do it. Today. No negotiation. Don't start with a mountain. Start with a stone. Because here's the secret. When you lift that stone, you shift something inside. You silence the voice that says, maybe later. And you awaken the voice that says, right now. That voice is the beginning of everything. It's the voice of a builder, a finisher, a leader. Your voice. See, discipline doesn't just build results, it builds you. Every kept promise makes you stronger. Every delivered word sharpens your edge. You walk different, think different, command more from yourself and the world around you. Why? Because you finally believe in what you say. And that belief changes everything. Because when you believe your own voice, you stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for permission. You stop needing someone else to push you. You become your own source of power. And that is where true freedom begins. Not when you get everything, but when you own yourself. So take the promise you just thought of and go keep it. That's your homework. That's your proof. Not for me, for you. Because if you can't do the small thing, you'll never handle the big thing. And if you can do the small thing, then you've already started to rewrite your story. You've felt it before, that fire in your chest when you imagine what life could be like. That version of you that gets up early, that finishes things, that owns every move. You see glimpses of them. In your mind, they're already alive. But in reality, they're still waiting for you to step into them. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Your potential doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It waits for you to decide. And that decision starts not with ambition, but with honesty. Brutal, beautiful honesty about what you've been avoiding, about the promises you've left hanging. You want to become that person, the one you see in your highest vision. Then start keeping their promises. Not your current self's promises, theirs. That version of you that's leaner, sharper, more focused. What would they commit to? What would they never tolerate? What would they do differently right now? Because that's your blueprint. People chase clarity, chase confidence, chase momentum, but they forget. Those things don't come first. They're earned. They're the byproduct of keeping promises. They show up when you stop treating your word like a suggestion, when your mouth becomes a contract, and your action becomes the signature. That's when things begin to shift. Look, I don't care if you failed before. I don't care if you broke 1,000 promises. What matters is what you do now. Because the moment you say enough, the moment you say I'm done lying to myself, that's when life hears you. That's when your mind wakes up. That's when your future starts running toward you. But you have to meet it halfway. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, no guilt, no shame, no delay. Just clarity, strength, momentum. You told yourself what you'd do, and you did it. You hit that alarm and didn't snooze. You followed through. That version of you, that's not fiction. That's one decision away. And don't misunderstand, this isn't about perfection. This is about trajectory. One kept promise tilts your entire life in a new direction. You take that energy into your work, your relationships, your goals. You stop apologizing for being behind because now you're leading. Not with noise, but with proof. That's why it matters so much. Because the little things are never little. Drinking that water, doing that rep, writing that page, it seems small, but it isn't. It's you declaring war on the version of yourself that settles. It's you reclaiming your power moment by moment, inch by inch, until your life is unrecognizable. And here's the part most people miss. When you start keeping promises to yourself, the world responds. Opportunities open up. People respect you more. Not because of what you say, but because of what you embody. Discipline is magnetic. Self-trust is contagious. You walk different, you feel different, and they feel it too. That's the beginning of leadership. So this isn't just about goals. This is about identity. Who are you when no one's looking? Who are you when it's just you and the work? That answer determines how far you go and how fast. And the best part, you don't need anyone's permission to change it. You just need the courage to begin. And one promise kept. There's a moment in every life when the excuses get old. When the stories you've been telling yourself, they start to rot. I'm too tired. I'm too busy. It's not the right time. You've said them. I've said them. But eventually they collapse under their own weight. And you're left with a decision. Do you keep living beneath your potential, or do you finally rise? Not with fireworks. Not with drama. But with one small act of rebellion, doing what you said you would do. That's the revolution. That's how empires are built. From within, quietly, relentlessly. You don't need a new plan. You need to honor the one you already made. That promise you whispered to yourself late at night. The one you buried under real life. Go dig it back up, dust it off, look it in the eyes, and tell it, I'm ready now. Not perfect, but present. Because here's the thing, the pain of discipline is sharp, but short. It hurts for a moment, but it shapes you forever. The pain of regret, that one lingers. It haunts. It eats your confidence from the inside out. And it always whispers the same thing. You could have been more. But now it's your turn to whisper back, watch me. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe yourself results. And those results begin with integrity. Not to impress. Not to prove. Just to be. The kind of person whose word is worth everything, because it's backed by action. That's not just success. That's power. You've heard the phrase, actions speak louder than words. But let me take it one step further. Actions become identity. Every choice you make is like casting a vote for the type of person you believe you are. And those votes, they add up fast. They shape your story. So the question is simple. Who are you becoming through your behavior? Not your intentions, not your potential, but your patterns. Because it's not the loudest voice in your head that wins, it's the one you listen to the most. And if the voice that says later keeps winning, then who's really in charge? Discipline flips that script. It puts you back in control, not just of your time, but of your truth. When you show up, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's not sexy, even when no one claps, you start to believe you're capable of more. And that belief becomes a platform you can build on, a platform strong enough to hold your goals, your relationships, your dreams. But it only holds if it's built on integrity. Otherwise, it collapses under pressure. And life has a way of testing your structure. So build something real, something rooted in follow-through. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more. You don't have to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. But if you keep your word to yourself and to others, you'll always be trusted. You'll always be respected. And most importantly, you'll respect yourself. Now comes the part most people skip, the action. The moment when motivation ends and responsibility begins. Because it's easy to nod along. Easy to say, that's true. But the truth, it doesn't change your life. Only action does. And action begins with a decision. So I'm asking you right now, what's one promise you're ready to make? Not someday, not when you're ready, now. What's one commitment that, if kept, would start to rewrite the way you see yourself? Don't overthink it. Just name it and move. Maybe it's waking up when you said you would. Maybe it's putting down the phone and picking up that book. Maybe it's finally starting that project you've been dancing around for months. Whatever it is, write it down. Say it out loud. Burn it into your brain. Then act like your life depends on keeping it. Because in a way, it does. The life you want, it doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to proof. And proof comes from consistency, from stacking wins, from showing up even when it's boring, uncomfortable, or hard. Especially when it's hard. Because that's where the real change lives. Not in inspiration, but in repetition. You want to feel proud of yourself? You want to feel powerful? Then earn it. One kept promise at a time. No shortcuts, no secrets, no applause, just grit. And the quiet certainty of a person who does what they say they'll do. That's where greatness begins. Let me remind you of something you might have forgotten. No one is coming to save you. Not a coach, not a guru, not a podcast, not even this voice. Your growth is your responsibility. And that's not a punishment. That's your power. Because once you accept that it's on you, nothing can stop you. No more waiting for perfect timing. No more hoping for external motivation. You become self-powered, self-propelled, self-led. And from that place, you're dangerous in the best way. Unshakable, unstoppable. But you've got to stop lying to yourself. No more maybe tomorrow. No more I'll try. Replace every soft excuse with hard action. Replace every delay with a decision. This is about integrity now, not just achievement. And integrity is a full-time job. So how do you build it? One brick at a time. Start small. Start specific. Write down your promise. Say it out loud. Look yourself in the mirror and say, we're doing this. Then do it. No flair, no drama, just execution. Then do it again and again until discipline becomes identity. Because when you live like that, when your actions match your words, day after day, you stop chasing confidence and start radiating certainty. You stop seeking approval and start commanding respect. You stop hoping and start creating. That's how it's done. That's how you do it. Let's talk about time, because you don't have as much as you think. Every day you wait is a day you can't get back. Every promise you postpone is a brick removed from the life you're trying to build. And the truth is, most people run out of time while they're still getting ready. Don't be one of them. You're not overwhelmed. You're just underdecided. You haven't drawn the line in the sand yet. You're still debating whether your goals deserve your full effort, but deep down you know they do. So decide. Right now, decide that your word is no longer negotiable. Because once your word becomes law, your entire life changes. You don't need perfect plans anymore, just promises you refuse to break. You don't need hype hustle or hustle culture. You need structure. You need standards. You need a spine. And you've got it, you've just been letting it sleep. Wake it up. Wake yourself up. Because this life will not wait for you. The opportunities you're meant to grab, the impact you're meant to have, they're not sitting in storage. They're passing. They're moving. And you either rise to meet them, or you watch someone else live the life you wanted. But not you. Not this time. This time you keep your promise. This time you move with intention. This time you close the gap between what you say and what you do. Because when that gap closes, your power explodes. And nothing can stop you. Let's bring it down to something practical, your routine. Because discipline doesn't just live in your dreams, it lives in your calendar. If you can't see it in your schedule, it's not real. Your habits are the real reflection of your priorities, not your words. So start where it matters. Build a structure that forces your word to matter. Wake up when you said you would. Train when you said you would. Focus when you said you would. It's not about motivation. It's about agreements between you. And those are sacred. You wouldn't cancel on your boss. You wouldn't flake on your best friend. So why do you cancel on yourself so casually? Why do you treat your own priorities as optional? That's not humility. That's self-betrayal. And the cure is simple. Honor yourself like someone you deeply respect. That starts with structure. Morning rituals that lock in focus. Evening rituals that build reflection. Simple, small, powerful routines that say, I'm not guessing who I am, I've already decided. You build your life in rhythm, and every rhythm you repeat becomes a drumbeat of identity. And identity drives everything. So don't just talk about discipline. Live it, track it, protect it. Make it part of your rhythm, part of your breathing, part of your pulse. Because once it's part of your rhythm, the world doesn't get to knock you off track. You move from chaos to command, and the rest of your life begins to follow. Let me tell you something personal. The first time you keep a hard promise to yourself, it feels small. Maybe no one notices, maybe there's no applause, but inside, something shifts, something wakes up. And once it wakes up, it doesn't go back to sleep. That's the moment you stop living like a prisoner of potential and start living like its commander. That's the moment the voice inside stops whispering, I hope, and starts declaring, I will. It's subtle, but it's powerful, because it's the beginning of self-trust. And self-trust is the beginning of everything. Think about it, the people you admire, the ones who move like they own their path, they didn't stumble into that confidence. They built it, brick by brick, promise by promise, not with luck, not with hype, with discipline, with delivery, with personal truth. And that same path, it's wide open in front of you. No gatekeepers, no application process. Just this one requirement. When you say you'll do something, do it. No escape, no negotiation. Just follow through. Not for others, not for likes. For the person in the mirror. That's how power is born. Quietly, privately, through the integrity of a single human being who refuses to break their own word. That's not just the path to success, that's the path to peace. Because when your actions match your words, you sleep better, you walk taller, you become free. There's something sacred about keeping your word when no one else sees it. No spotlight, no recognition. Just you honoring a private contract with your future. That's where real strength is born. That's where legends are shaped. Not on stage, but in silence. alone, focused, unshakable. You want to win at life? You want to build something that lasts? Then you've got to start showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's cold, when nobody's cheering you on. That's where the edge is. That's where the growth is. And most people quit right there. But not you. Not anymore. Because you've seen the cost of breaking your word. You've lived with that ache. And you've had enough. Now it's time to flip the story. Now it's time to become the kind of person who finishes what they start, who speaks with weight, who moves with power because they move with truth. There's nothing more magnetic than someone who's consistent, who says little but delivers everything, who doesn't just set goals, they embody them. And every time you keep a promise, you step deeper into that identity. You don't need to tell people who you are. You just become undeniable. So here's your real task. Not to hustle harder, not to chase perfection, but to keep the next promise, just the next one, with precision, with focus, with pride, and then keep the one after that, and the one after that, because stacked together, those promises build a life no one can take from you. Let's get honest, this world is loud. It's noisy with promises made and never kept. People talk, post, preach, but very few follow through. And in that sea of noise, the quiet power of integrity becomes a thunderclap. So if you want to stand out, you don't need to scream louder. You need to become more solid. Be the one who shows up. Be the one who finishes up. Be the one who does. Let others chase attention, you chase alignment. Because attention fades, but alignment? Alignment compounds. And the more you live in alignment, word, thought, action, the more your life starts to click. Your mind quiets. Your body strengthens. Your results multiply. Why? Because you're no longer leaking energy into excuses. You're focused, centered, unstoppable. And it doesn't take magic. It takes practice. Daily, ruthless, loving, practice. You'll mess up sometimes. That's human. But the real ones, they reset fast. They don't let one broken promise become a pattern. They course correct. And that's mastery. Because mastery isn't about doing everything right. It's about never staying wrong. It's about protecting the momentum of your word. And when that becomes your obsession, discipline becomes natural. Success becomes inevitable. And your name becomes a signature of trust. So here we are. You know what this is really about now. It's not time management. It's not productivity. It's self-respect. It's the choice to treat your own word like a sacred contract, not a suggestion, a standard. You don't rise by luck. You rise by keeping promises. Not just when it's easy, not just when it's exciting, but when it's quiet, when it's inconvenient, when no one will ever know but you. That's where power lives. That's where your life turns. And if you want to change your life, you don't need to wait for some big moment. You just need to keep one promise today, one honest small act that says, I do what I said I would do, then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Stack them, count them, let them carry you. Because over time, those moments aren't just actions, they become identity, and that identity becomes a magnet for everything you've been trying to chase. Confidence, peace, progress, respect. They don't come when you chase them. They come when you become them. So what now? Go back to your list. Look at the promise you've been dodging. Don't run from it anymore. Walk into it, own it, honor it. Because when you do, you stop being someone with potential and start being someone with proof.